Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to do a meditative watercolor. For this project I will be using some tape, a Sharpie, some watercolor paint, and some watercolor paper. To begin, I'm going to tape down my paper. That way it won't move or buckle as I add my watercolor paint. And I also really enjoy having a nice crisp white border when I am finished with my paper. I'm just using regular masking tape, but painter's tape can work as well to attach it to whatever surface you are working on. I like to attach it to a board just in case I want to pick my painting up and move it around a little bit to spread out the paint. Now I'm going to begin drawing a nice calm, wavy line from one side of my paper to the other. I'm adding some larger bumps here and there, which I'm going to turn kind of into these flattened bubbles, kind of like they're on the surface of some water floating on top. Now this is just a design that I'm doing. If you want to change it up or make it your own in any way, please feel free. Instead of these bumps as bubbles, you could do loops in your lines. But I find that the horizontal lines are help to calm me, and I like adding just the nice little ripples in the lines. I find it therapeutic. As I continue down my paper, I am adding a variety of different bumps and bubbles along the way. Some of my lines have larger ones, some of them have smaller ones. I try not to make any two in the same place, but kind of vary where they end up. I can even go back in later and add more if I decide that more of my lines maybe need some more of the little bumps and bubbles. Now the reason I'm using Sharpie marker is so that once I add the watercolor, the marker will not be affected by it. You want to make sure whatever pen you're using is water resistant. I'm going to throw in a couple additional little bubbles here and there on some of my lines. And I think that's about it. I'm going to put my Sharpie away and now get my watercolor paints ready. I'm just using a set of watercolor that I've poured into this palette here. They are Shinhan Pro watercolor paints, but any watercolor paint will do. And I love using different shades of blue, and maybe we'll throw in a little bit of green as well. So I am going to start off with a light cerulean blue, and I'm just going to basically fill in this top section here with my watercolor paint. Now I've sped this up just a little bit so that you can get the idea here. And as I add the paint, I may go back in and just dab a little bit more color in places or a little bit more water in places and just kind of see what happens. I'm skipping a line and moving down because the paint will bleed if it touches other colors. So if you want to just keep on going down one line after another and let the colors blend and bleed together, you can. I am choosing to kind of paint in every other line. Just gradually adding color, throwing in some extra color here and there, some extra water here and there. And just focusing on filling in the space with some lovely color. Now I'm going to go in with a darker shade of blue and kind of fill in between my lines. I did not let the previous layer dry, so it may bleed in places where it was extra wet from my previous layer, and that's okay with me. But I did want to have some indication of a difference in between my layers of colors. You can see there one section bleeding into the section below. I continue to add more of my dark blues. You can see I've added some greens in there as well. Just filling the sections with color. Trying not to think too hard, but focusing on filling the space with water and with color. Using the calming horizontal marks. I'm adding just water in this one and letting some of the colors bleed into it. I love to just kind of let the watercolor do its thing sometimes and see what happens, see what effects I can get. Adding a little bit more green to tie it into the other sections. And letting the colors just mix on the paper. And jump back and forth to some of the other rows. looking for anything that I feel I want to change. And just play. This is a fun exercise to play around with values, to see how wet or dry you can paint and the effects that it has on your painting. And just to kind of play around with the medium. Now I want to fill in these bubbles with an extra dark color, so I'm using less water and a lot more paint, trying to get it nice and rich and dark. I wanted to go with one more darker value here on my project. I hope you've enjoyed painting with me today. I'm removing my tape carefully by pulling it away from my painting as to not rip into the edges. And now you can see that nice crisp white border really gives it a nice finished look. Thank you so much for watching, and please join me again soon for more fun painting tutorials.